ours and are not necessarily those of KKNW, its management, or other advertisers. This program is sponsored by Sue Lundquist.
Hey loves, like you, I desire an abundant life and its lifestyle, and to continue to show up as my best version of self, where we win in life to reclaim, rediscover, redesign an authentic and genuine self. And yes, this is intimacy on a whole new level. Welcome. Join us at claritywithsue.com. Again, that's claritywithsue.com. Welcome to the good life. Good morning, Benny. Good morning, Pacific Northwest. How is it going?
Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Good day, good afternoon, wherever you're at, right?
Yes, and Mexico and the UK and all
Hola.
the people that, wow, the world, right? Yeah, there's Australia, there's UK, there's Mexico, Mexico City, Arizona, Oregon, Vancouver, Canada, Toronto, all of the loves. So thank you for tuning in.
Sum it up, just say globally.
Globally. But you know, my listeners, they're like, "Ooh, I like it when you say Toronto. Ooh, I like it when you say Mexico City." Yeah.
Special
they're
shout
like,
out.
A shout out.
There we go. All right.
Totally.
All right.
So how are you and the boys? How was the snow?
Doing pretty good. We haven't really seen much of it here locally in the area where the studios are. We need to, make the trek up to the mountains a little bit, but it's coming down up there. So we're also getting new coats soon, and we got to look for some new boots. They've outgrown their old pair, so.
Like every week, right?
Pretty much. I feel like their feet are growing. Like you can hear them grow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That reminds me, I grew 6 inches in a summer.
Wow.
Can you imagine? My mom
No,
was
I
can't keep the food. I can't keep the clothes. She's like, you're wearing t-shirts and shorts. I can't do this.
Do you remember what age you were at that time? Probably mid-teens or something?
I was 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there, I think. Yeah.
All right.
I was still riding a horse and anyways,
Wow.
It's crazy.
6
I know.
inches.
I
That's
know.
impressive. I think my max was I grew a little bit slower. Obviously, boys tend to do that. It's factually, I guess you could say.
Yes.
But in college, I actually grew another 3 inches after senior year. Wow. So I was just like a late bloomer, so to speak. But
yeah, I know a few men that were late and they grew 3, 6, 7 inches. Yeah. I'm like, wow, what? Yeah, it's crazy. It'll be interesting to see how the boys go.
I know. I'm excited.
Yes. Well, welcome everybody. I am super excited. Benny, thank you for all your superpowers behind the scene. Appreciate getting us all connected. Again, good morning, Pacific Northwest. For those of you that are joining us later on the show, the podcast world, good morning, good afternoon, good on ya, wherever you're at. Thank you so much. Want to remind all of you to please go to the podcast worlds, the iTunes, the Apples, and all of that. And if you enjoy this show, which of course you do, I've heard from you. And of course, I say 5-star rating, not the little 3-star, 4-star, whatever those are. Give us some big stars and some big love. If you're joining us live and you would like to see us in video and see us talking and chatting, we would love to do that. We're on YouTube, and all you got to do is go to YouTube and type in 1150 AM KKNW, and you're going to see us. If you're joining us on the radio, welcome. Thank you so much. I'm super excited. Y'all know that I am deep-seated in spirituality, the practical, intuitive. I'm very spiritual, and I have a lot of faith in Source. Gus, God, Universe, Source, Spirit, what purple chopsticks. You guys have heard me talk about that before. However, it makes you feel whole and home again and providing that love for yourself. We're going to have this conversation today, and I'm super excited to bring on my guests today. We're going to talk about spirituality. We're going to define what that looks like, how that could be showing up in your world, and do some education. And who knows, maybe there'll be a reading coming through. So I am going to bring on Julia Harrell, is a clairvoyant, and we're going to talk about that definition again, and spiritual development coach who helps highly sensitive people, empaths and intuitives, to overcome their sensitivities, heal themselves, and thrive. I love this conversation. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Super excited. Well, first, I mean, I do the formal bio, and audience knows this, and I do the little bio, but we want to get to know you. We want to hear from you, hear your energy, your voice, all of that good stuff. And then we'll go into some definitions and some other conversations. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Wonderful to be here. Yeah, I grew up in the South and I was picking up a lot of information and I didn't know it. I thought, just isn't that normal? Doesn't everybody know that when somebody looks at you this way and they say these words, but they mean something else? And I was very confused by that. I started out, I was just music, music, music. I still play music today. But I realized part of playing drums, one, I just love it, love it, love it. And the other part of, there was a time in my teens, I remember, where I was just like loud rock and roll. And I was trying to shut out the noise that I was picking up on all these other levels. And I didn't know it. I remember back at the time too, that I looked around, there's church, there's things like that. I like church, but I wasn't getting my answers. There was more that I was looking for, and I couldn't find that validation, communication. So it wasn't until later that I found my tribe and really opened up the clairs. And it's my greatest joy today, of course, to share and to teach others how to open their abilities.
I love that. And to having a safe place to land, to go without judgment and with somebody with high integrity, right? And it's going to be truthful and honest and that walks the talk, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for
My
sure.
teacher was such a good example of that, Michael Tamura. He just walks the talk, senior master teacher, and joyful. And he taught us about neutrality. I think some of the key points I like to make for my students is working towards getting neutrality and seniority. So neutrality being when you're aware of things like, here's somebody's energy in my space. I could get mad at it and I could scream and push and go, oh, there they are again, knucklehead. And then the next day, oh, knucklehead, there you are again. Or I could start to get neutral to it. Oh, you've already been there. Now I found it. So that's half the battle. And by being neutral to it, I can let it go much easier than to be in battle.
Let's break that down if we could, what it means to have somebody in my energy space, because I can hear the audience going, well, what does that mean? How can we adjective that and describe that to them, and them being the audience, make them have more a practice of awareness so they know what's going on?
Yeah, let me paint a picture. Someone came in recently and didn't really have solid questions coming into the reading, kind of a new experience. And the first thing I saw was, now clairvoyant, you asked earlier, let's dive into that. Clairvoyant just means clear seeing. So I have a training that teaches me how to look at energy around us. And so we have our own natural vibration, like the hard drive, and sometimes we have apps running, like you've got this blue green that you're setting the pace for other people. And then you got like a mom app and entrepreneur app and a new business app and stuff. So, these show up as colors, like colored clouds and stuff around a person. And that's where, but then you have to interpret it, which comes through, it's all technique. For me, it was all
the charades,
technique.
right? The game of charades in an aspect. I mean, that was me with evidential mediumship and speaking to source and going, all right, because I didn't want to make any of this up, right?
Right.
I'm like, you got to give me a name, give me some clear communication, right? Yes, please go ahead.
Well, I was this story with this woman. The first thing I saw was an image of two people. Well, it looked more like two rams with the horns engaged and just pushing back and forth. And I thought, well, I'm not going to open with that in the reading. Let me validate who the person really is first, because that's where you come in for a reading and you hear that, oh, I always knew I was a teacher or whatever, So that's when we finally got around to it. I said, well, this is what it looks like. It looks like two, and it's the image comes in knowingness, and the sixth chakra in the head and the seventh chakra. So it comes in internal knowingness. And I've got 30 years of practice and training with the master teacher and all of this. So I see this image and say, okay, it looks like two rams on the side of a hill battling for footage, but nobody steps around to let the other one pass. And said, oh, well, that's me and my soon-to-be ex. Okay, all right, found it. So in looking at that, what is it that binds the two horns together? And starting to read the picture, they show up as pictures. We call them mental image pictures. And very often too, what's so interesting is there can be the image with the soon-to-be ex, but it's very often it's more sticky because there's a pattern there. In my life at 27, that happened. In my life at 17, that happened. In my life at 8 years old, that happened. So one of the things in this style reading that I learned and that I do is let's look for the Jenga pin. Where did that pattern start? Oh, okay, 5 years old with mom or whatever, and see what's it really about? Oh, not feeling heard and seen. And that translated over into current times, into this RAM battle going back and forth. There were also some other things you talk about, people in your space. The other part going on, I think in this case, was an energetic cord. So an energetic cord is quite normal and natural from a parent to a child. That's how you just know, okay, need milk. Okay, change the diaper. Oh, got a fever. It's like a telephone wire connecting two people. So that's a healthy time to have a cord. But as adults, you don't want to have energetic cords. Mm-hmm. And we don't cut them either. We would remove them. So
interesting, because you hear cut the cords. And
yes, there's a lot of pop ideas out there that just sort of get passed around. But when you actually look at it, you go, oh, well, the cord's still hanging there. It's still flopping around.
Oh, interesting.
Because you have to, it's like an outlet, like, plugging an outlet into the wall.
Yes.
You have to have something that allows that plug to be there. Oh, I need you, or you're the man of my dreams, or whatever. So you have to check the outlet too.
Oh, checking the outlet, checking under the hood.
Yeah. So this was just the kind of the quick overview. We did this and looked on the timeline and doing the taking the cords out. And it's very interesting always to me too. Where does the cord go from? Oh, the wallet. That's a different strategy.
Interesting.
And usually you would think heart to heart. By the way, a cord from adult to adult is not usually love. It's usually control at that point. I want to manage. I want to manage, or I want you to believe what I want you to believe. So the energetic cord is always interesting for me to see, where does it go? Oh, it goes right to that person's survival. You need me financially or whatever it was. And so we removed the cords. Don't you know, he called 15 minutes later and everything got resolved that had been on the table for years. And all of a sudden, the man that she knew and loved and fell in love with and had babies with, all of a sudden was reached out to her and apologized. And it was, and signed the whatever paperwork or whatever was being done. But this is where we hold mental image pictures in our space. And in this case, having the rams going back and forth, I don't remember the details or whatever, but removing the cords too gave them both space to breathe and be themselves, and it kind of unlocked the horns to be themselves, and then go, oh, I don't want to fight. I want to move on. Let's have the kids' welfare in mind, and let's just move on. I can't tell you how many times removing a cord and the person calls, like during the call.
Remove the cords, please. Remove the cords. We should have a conversation after this. Yes. let's talk about, because I can hear the audience going, well, what do you mean these chords?
Sure.
I know, a good realistic analogy. I mean, and our listeners, many of them understand, but there's also some that are awakening to this experience, right? So let's
Yes.
break that down a little bit for them.
Yes, an energetic cord think of it like a phone line, an invisible phone line connecting from you to another person. Happens most often in romantic relationships as adults. And we probably start as teenagers. Ooh, I like that one. You throw your hook in. That one looks good. So it's quite natural, and we don't realize, and it might be for youngsters, heart to heart, or romantic space to romantic space. But you could say an invisible cord. It's not invisible to me,
Right.
When you learn to look and see that this is a real natural way of people interacting, but it's actually not healthy, especially adult to adult. Quite natural for, ask any parent out there listening. You could be at work, right? Your child is somewhere else, and you just get that ding,
Yep.
Something's going on. How do you know that? So people might say intuition, love, I love my child, I'm tuned in. Yes, correct. And this is just kind of the technical, mechanical way that transfers information. The mom would probably have a cord from the heart space to the other heart space. Sometimes if it goes to the solar plexus, and it's like, calm down, kid. Solar plexus in the middle of the body, we think of our power, our personal power. So like if you had a 2-year-old that's going through the terrible twos.
The tantrums, yes.
Because they're a mini-me.
Yes. They're a great mirror for us, aren't they?
Yeah. Then that cord might slip down from heart to their will energy,
Their
right?
willpower,
In the solar plexus. This is where we have our own willpower. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Okay, talk to me about having a coaching session with you, whether it's the coaching, because I know that you help sensitive people
Yes.
tap into their, and buzzwords or anchor words, not buzzwords, anchor words for me are authentic, just really deep-seated and really authentically finding themselves or refinding themselves, if that's the appropriate word. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say starting with a reading is where most people start. And in the reading, we're on a Zoom like this, and we'll say hello, and I like to get a background of, do they have a particular religion or spiritual background, so I can use a similar language. And then I go into a light meditation trance, and I'm looking at the colors, the energies around them. I want to first validate who the person really is. This person's a guide, a teacher, like paving the way for others. This person over here is really moved by love and beauty. Everything they do, set the table, is through love. It's like a soul expression through that. So I want to validate who they are first. And then if they have questions coming in, they want to look at relationship space, the big main ones. I don't get that. I get a lot of people that are already kind of curious about spirituality, or have things happening that they don't know quite what it is. Let me give an example, and I'll come back to the session.
Yes, please do.
A healthcare professional reached out, and she said, "You're going to think I'm crazy." And I said, "You have no idea."
Yeah, no.
I love the weird.
Yes.
But it wasn't weird to me at all.
Right.
She said, something's happening to me where I walk into a patient's room, and I know the whole thing. I know what's going on. Now, obviously she's got to follow protocol, But she
Right.
said there's just this boom knowingness of what's going on with that patient. She hasn't met them yet, just total download. And she said that's fine, but then she can literally feel their pain, like physical pain. They just had a
Oh,
surgery and she's feeling that same pain in her body. That's not sustainable, obviously. And she said, I can't shake it, you know.
ooh,
And so my response, well, that's not weird at all. That's what is opening up for people right now. And the ability to feel energy around you, even as simple as standing in line at the grocery store and you can feel like that person's pushing me, but they're not touching me.
yep.
That's part of your space around you that's picking up data, you could say. It's information. On the feeling level of feeling what somebody else is feeling, in this case, the healthcare professional was feeling pain, physical pain, like, now my shoulder hurts. I can't, I got to work and my shoulder hurts. So there's technique here of adjusting that ability to feel energy and reroute it up to knowing, because just
Oh,
feeling things has a limit to it.
yes.
She had it, this healthcare professional had it going on with just walk in the room and instant knowingness.
Right.
That's the highest level of getting information on an intuitive level around you. But it's harder to trust because you're like, why do I know that? What's the empirical data that shows I should follow that?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I love this conversation too because there's a big, huge leap of faith, right? I mean, and there's also an education, a practicality with it too. So
Yeah.
you know that you're getting authentic clairs or evidential mediums, really getting the correct information, and it's not coming out of your clouded psyche, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of that and that conversation too. Well, how do you know that that's really true? Because I've heard that from people too. And I just know. And if I'm doing a reading back in the day, I would get a name. And you were talking about your healthcare professional that would have pain. So I go into my evidential mediumship, and when I channel or I have spirit come through me, I'm like, I've got some boundaries. I don't want to feel the heart attack. I don't want to feel the pain. So that's my boundary. But I'm curious, when you talk about, what did you say just in a minute ago about teaching them how to bring it up, the energy up through their body?
Yeah, there is actually a volume knob on that ability to feel energy, and this is often one of the first ones to wake up, right? It's part of your intuitive makeup. We all have it built in.
Yes.
You've been using it. The phone rings. Oh, that's my sister. The phone's
Yes.
downstairs. How do you know that? That's an intuitive ability, and this is
Yes.
just the mechanical. We just you can watch and see where it's going. Yeah, my teacher taught us all this. So for me, it's all very mechanical. Learning to trust it is like anything, practice, practice, practice. I'm very fortunate that I was able to get all this training since the 90s, that I've been doing this level of training. But it's all technique to look at it, and you can develop all these. They're built in, like I said, like you've got lungs, everybody's got a heart, everybody has the ability to feel energy. You could, for those that are more sensitive, and today you hear words like highly sensitive person, HSP.
Yes. Yep.
Or empath. These are most commonly where abilities are starting to wake up. Or like for a HSP, highly sensitive person, they're just like a big antenna, which means they're picking up data on multiple levels.
Can we put a pin in that really quick? Because what you're saying right there, and when you were talking about music, when you were rapping on the drums, just so you could drum it, you could numb it out.
Yes.
So something really struck true to me with that, because for so many years I couldn't hear music, like but that was based on my human plane trauma. And then I would shut down the intuition because it was just so overwhelming. And I was doing this. I couldn't trust if it was trauma, and I didn't even, and now I have the language for it. Then I just didn't know. I had to shut it down. So I'm curious about the conversation between shutting down, like the trauma in the human body, and then being able to trust that knowing, that intuition?
Good
Does that make
segue.
sense?
Yeah, good segue
Okay.
and good question, because this comes up in my classes.
Of
People are
course it
going, I'm
does.
doing the technique. Why am I not seeing? Here's some popular ones that come up. And we don't have to go into a heavy trauma. We could go into, like, when a child is young, the children, it's very easy for them to see energy, to see spirit. They may have a deceased loved one that's coming to tuck them in at night. It's very normal, very natural. But especially in American society, we go, oh no, it's just a child's imagination. Well, how did they know what grandma looked like if they never met?
Exactly. Yes.
So it's very natural for a child to do that. But what if the child sees something that they're not supposed to know? What if they see something that is a surprise to someone and they go, you shouldn't know that? And the child loves that person and they go, oh, I'm never seeing that stuff again. It hurts people. I'm shutting it down.
Yes.
That's a really, really popular one.
Wow. Oh, okay. You know what? We got to take a quick commercial break. That was super juicy. And of course, my brain's going, oh, and I'm going back going, yes, yes. And then I shut it down and then I open and I could trust again. All right, you guys, Sue here. We are going to go live on YouTube. So if you'd like to hear us for another few more minutes, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, stand by for a quick commercial break and we will be right back.
All right, all clear?
Yeah, I love this conversation. In the last 4 years, I've had lots of transitions. So I haven't been allowing myself in that space as much because I've got a lot of human stuff I'm overcoming.
Yeah, there's still trauma sitting there. We could do a reading later if you want.
I would love it. Oh yeah, there's a shiitake amount of, I feel it. And I can only do so much with my own self, right?
That's where we bring good coaches in that can see that part that I'm not an expert on,
Oh, I love that.
And I get readings from friends to stay tuned up too. For energy workers, anybody that works with energy or work with others, it's good to stay tuned up.
I would totally agree. And keep yourself fresh and open, open. Yeah. And unclog for the audience, unclog the pipes. Yeah. Over the last few years, it's been a bit of Sue, you got to take a human break for a while. I still tap in. I still have tons of spirit around me, and I tap in for company, for love, for conversation, and guidance. And what the bleep are you doing? Because I've had a lot of that too. I'm like, really? Did my soul come into this life to have all of this to overcome? And it is what it is.
How many people are getting to learn and grow from that? You're a natural teacher. So it's like when I look at you, it's like the not Wizard of Oz road, because yours is kind of blue-green, but you're like paving a road for others to walk on, and so how do you know where to go and how to do it? You've got it in you, in you as a frequency too, because as you shift that pattern, then you have the result as a frequency, and people just step into that frequency and they feel better and they don't know why.
Yes. And I've heard, thank you, by the way, thank you very much. And I've heard that before. And I've also heard, I show people that my energy or energy are just the person that I am, the human vessel that I am. I walk into a room. Oh, here we go. Okay. Pardon me.
Stand by.
Nice, Benny. Thank you. All right, Sue, I'm Sue. We are coming back. We have got Julia here. She is a coach. She works in depth with her clairvoyant and her knowing abilities, and coaches people that are highly sensitive, whether that's empathic or what is it? Highly sensitive people. What's the acronym for that?
HSP.
HSP. Yes. HSP. We've heard that buzzword quite a bit. We've been talking the first top of the hour, just kind of dissecting adjectives to describe, giving explanations of clients that she's had, what's happening to you. Maybe there's a resonance in you when you're listening to us and you're like, oh yeah, that's happening. Well, I would recommend giving Julia, contacting her, because she can coach you through this. She can have a conversation, she can do a reading, and also help you to heal yourself. And I think that is absolutely beautiful. And thank you for shining your light and stepping in the rink, because I know it could be sticky. I use the word sticky, especially on radio. Some of it can be, and doing this work isn't, you've heard it's not quite for the faint of hearts, but you've also got to have a big heart to do this work being
It's
spirituality.
perseverance, I would say.
Oh, perseverance. And
you can't just hit that first wall and go, this is too hard, I'm going to go back to my cubicle at work.
although there's sometimes though, Julie, that I'm like, I've got to stop. Like I was talking at break, I've just taken a human break to just refigure all this out and recalibrate. And I think that's important too. And not having shame or guilt around that break, right?
Yeah, it feels like the wind's really at our sails right now. And
Yes.
so that wind can fill up both area. Well, it's like in order to be on this new path, we're really getting like gently nudged and held to go up to this next way, more open of being and seeing the interconnectedness of things, But in order to go there, it's like if that's a hot air balloon, we have to let go of some sandbags, that old limiting beliefs that we've carried along, and we go, oh, that's my family's like that. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
This is my thing I have to carry. This stuff is naturally coming up for review right now. If you want to take that hot air balloon ride, it's totally available. But take a look at this sandbag you're carrying around, a limiting belief, most common that I see is not enough.
Yep. Of course.
One flavor or another.
Another, yep.
And so those are naturally coming up for review right now. But it's actually a good
100%.
time for miracles this year. We just came out of COVID and kind of going within and looking within, and now we're coming back out in the world expressing more. And it's energetically, it's a really good time for miracles, but we have to let go of the sandbags.
Let's have that conversation about those sandbags, because when you're and I've talked to and I've videos and education about that time when you were crossing the bridge. No, not a lot of people talk about that time when you're crossing the bridge and you're in the muck of it and you're scared, you're sad, and it's not about holding on to the proverbial fear bags or the limiting belief bags. Let's have a conversation about that crossing the bridge time where you're like, okay, Shiitake, I have let go of the bags. I've let go of my limiting beliefs, my fears, people that don't serve me, lifestyle that doesn't serve me. Now what? You're right in the muck of it. And for those in the radio, I'm holding my fingers up like a touchdown. And it's that stuff in the middle, right? That you're like, now what do I do? And this is where you can come in, right?
Create. I've had those instances. I had more than once where the entire rug gets pulled out.
Hello, sister. Oh, so many times. Yes. But it's resilience, right? Resilience and rebuild.
Yeah, I can get comfortable. I'm one that does love big change, and I like to be around big change. But I have my own routine that I can do too. And sometimes I need kicked out of it to do a course correction.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
A big one was like, okay, relationship breakup, had to move, cat died, spiritual. I couldn't go to the spiritual community I was in at the time. And that was all my personal friends too. So it was like entire rug pulled out, boom, gone. Now what's left? That's the key. What's left? It's not about the other people. And then it really caused me to use my tools and go inside and, prayer and meditation right there to get through it.
Prayer meditations.
Resilience.
Yeah, resilience, rebound, rebuild. A lot of redos. Talk to me about some of your in the now, real life, real time tools, because I'm a big proponent of real time, real life tools. It's not about going and sitting on a mountaintop and meditating. That's just not practical for us in the human realm, right? It's just not. Some people, that's fine. You go ahead and do that. Me, I know. And many of my listeners are like, yeah, no, that's not going to work either. They've got jobs, they've got in-laws, they've got bills, they've got all this stuff in our humanness. How can we self-regulate? Giving some tips and tools that maybe that you've used personally that have worked, and then also with clients.
Yeah, I'll do 2 tools, but just to say about the mountaintop, that's not like the next step after that is how do you use those tools in the world? You know, that's the spiritual grad school, is how do I use these tools in the world? It's not how do I pull myself away from everything and then I'm okay. How can I bring it? How can I embody the lessons and you know what I've learned in my day-to-day? We need men and women of goodwill in every sector. We need you in finance, we need you in healthcare, we need you in fire department, whatever, you know, we need it everywhere.
Agreed.
I would say 2 tools that have been a game changer for me. One is grounding. And people use the word grounding for like walking barefoot or, you know, all kinds of things. This is maybe we even need a different term, but this is a particular style of grounding where you imagine a grounding cord connecting the base of the spine to the center of the earth so that I'm right here, right now. We're in a society where we start out with a cappuccino and we have an energy drink later in the day. We're on our social media, scroll. All of that is just pulling you up and out of the body,
yes.
You know, and we wonder, why does my day take longer? Because you're not centered here, right now. So that's the first step, grounding yourself. And with that grounding cord, making a decision, I'm going to let go of any energy in and around my space I've picked up during the day or on my drive or whatever that's not mine. You know, I've got my kid's problem sitting here in my space, and everywhere I go, it's still there 6 inches from me, and I'm feeling it all day.
Yeah.
That actually doesn't help the child to have the problem energy in our own space. So we have to let that go. So grounding off those sort of things so that we can be really clear right here, right now, get that intuitive download of what's my next step? How do I deal with this client? How can I best support this project I'm on? You don't have to be a clairvoyant or an evidentiary medium to use these natural abilities. They help in our everyday lives.
And we need that in society. It should be taught regularly.
I would imagine it will be soon.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because imagine kids learning to ground. When kids get... especially, there's been so many sugary foods over the last many years, and
don't get me started. I know the sugary drinks and
the more finely tuned you get and aware of these different levels, and like, let's go to the HSP person, highly sensitive person. By the way, statistics tell us it's about 20 to 25% of the population, which means one of your family members in a family of 4, probably, right? So if it's not you, it's somebody you know. But in that case, picking up all that data and stuff that they're picking up. I forgot where I was going to go with that. I get so many ideas. I want to.
You can share. Just keep going. You were talking about grounding, and then if you know you're a parent and you picked up the kids' turmoil and you're still holding on to that 2 hours later, it doesn't do any of us any good. Which I love. Yeah. That's a great analogy for many of us.
I was thinking about the HSP with sugar too, because just the day-to-day stuff. Because if they're highly sensitive, that means they're finely tuned, you know, like a finely tuned race car, but they're picking up data on different levels. So like the physical body, you pick up data, that person had a green tie on Tuesday, or you pick up another data strand would be emotions. Oh, my buddy walked in, he didn't say anything, but I know he's upset. That's a data level. Another data level, thoughts. That person really likes me. That person thinks I'm an idiot. Thoughts. And then there's the whole higher consciousness level. So that's the HSP person in that case, or a highly sensitive person. They're picking up all that data. If you put sugar in there too, whoa, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, well, your human body, the diet, not diet as in losing weight, but the diet for your vessel has got to be quite healthy. I mean, yes, of course, there's times where you can have the bag of chips and do that. That's a conscious, intentional thing. But for the most part, 90% of the time, do yourself and your body and the people you love and that's around you a favor by creating a healthy environment. Can we, and I don't know, this keeps coming up for me. We talk about highly sensitive people, and I've had this conversation before with autistic children. I think they're the most incredible, but they are the most sensitive in my experience. Can we have that conversation? Because I know a few friends of ours in the Pacific Northwest that have autistic children, and they are highly sensitive. I mean, they pick up things. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to go outside my expertise boundaries,
right?
But I can just share people that I've worked with. Because there can be physical, physiological consciousness and all of that going on that needs different specialists to help with.
100%.
Grounding and learning to ground a room can be a game changer. I had a woman come in, and she had a special needs daughter. I don't remember diagnosis code or whatever.
Yeah.
But was unable to live on her own, and there was really some unsafe behaviors going on, and unexpected things, and ups and downs, high ups and downs, right? So a very mom had to be with her, pretty much 24/7, and did some readings and energy work, and looked at things, and I taught the mom how to ground herself and ground the space. And I had a recording that they played in the house too, of just, I made the music and walking through the exercises. And long story short, that child today is married, working, has a stepchild, and living her own life. She still has, she still has things to manage, and has specialist therapists, medications to support that. But that was pretty dramatic. I mean, I don't promise that.
Oh, heavens, no, that's not. Yeah.
Everything, but these tools can support being grounded right here, right now, and having a safe, healthy space.
Thank you for that. Overcoming a sensitivity. We've kind of been overlaying all of this. Is there a conversation that we can have? People have different sensitivities, similar to the conversation with an autistic or a spectrum, whatever that is. I know for myself, after being shut down for so many years, it was, okay, now I have to be aware. And within this awareness, again, it's that bridge. Within that awareness, it's work. You have to be intentional, and
yes,
you are hyper aware. I made it a practice to be hyper aware of my surroundings, my actions, my behaviors, who I was surrounding myself, what I was putting in my body, how I was speaking externally and internally. There's all these tools that you have to employ and foster to facilitate that change. You want to have that conversation?
Yes, it takes practice. Practice builds up a frequency. People want to change their space. If you've got one foot that turns out, you need to practice having it back in alignment. And after a while, now it's just natural to do that.
Yes.
This training, it's the same thing. You learn to ground yourself, separate out what's actually mine, what's not, because so many times especially as a mom, you can walk around and you've got, even the kids getting older, you've got their energy, your awareness is right there. And then what if one of the children is going through, something more worry energy? And you're tuned in and picking up that worry too. Now you've got worry energy in your space, and later in the day you're like, the child's not there, but I've got worry energy. I'm worried. Why am I worried? I'm anxious. I'm nervous or something.
Right.
We have to look first. Is this even my energy? That's where the grounding cord can help, just to flush that down. It's natural to want to be tuned in to the kids, right? And you're already corded if they're under 21. Might consider letting that cord go by 21. So
2 out of the 3, yes.
so that's natural. But how many people out there that are managers, that are in a space and feeling like I need to hold the energy of my team, but they don't realize that they're holding it in their personal space, and then they go home and they go, why do I have frozen shoulder? Why do I have all this anxiety going on? And it's mechanics of there's better ways to manage without bringing that energy into your personal space. And the grounding cord is a big one to help with that. You can give another tool too, if you like.
Yes, please. Yes. I'm as you say, I'm totally grounding. I've got this big tube on. I'm just
The trick on it too of all of this is that it's from a really effortless space. So no pain, no gain does not work in spiritual work. It's the body's the one that has pain and gain. So if we're releasing energy down the grounding cord, then it's just watching it flow by, like watching a river flow by, just really effortless. We're not pushing the water by in a river.
Good. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Because people, when I was doing energy work too, I would see people go, because that's the humanness in them. They want to push, right? And I'm like, it's not even that. It's just sitting there. It's effort. It's opening the heart. Anyways, please continue.
Well, that push, that brings to mind too, we don't realize too how much resistance actually acts as bubblegum to the thing you don't want.
Yes. Yes.
Look,
the contrast.
Who's been to look at the difference of a anti-war rally or going to a pro-peace rally?
Pro-peace, yeah.
Which would you rather go to?
Love rally. I don't want to do the other one. Nope.
The other one's got war in the name. The universe doesn't know not. It doesn't know don't. It's like your dog doesn't know don't jump on the sofa. If you're showing them a picture of sofa and saying don't, they'll think, oh, sofa, I'll jump on that and make you happy. The universe doesn't know that either. So it's where do we put our attention of what we do want to bring in? But the resistance, when I see people, let me give another example. There was a woman when I was before doing Zoom all the time, seeing somebody in person, and she came in. I'm just, doing a little reading, healing, and she works with others, and she's a guide for others. And I saw this blob of red-brown energy out in front of her, like out in front of her face over to the side, maybe about a foot over. And I'm looking at it and I said, oh, well, this is a lovely looking lady, but there's an anger patch sitting in this red brown energy out here. And I said, well, wonder what that is. And I'm talking with her and I hit this energy and I go, oh, this is not yours. It's a patch of anger. And you look happy today. Oh, that's weird. And she said, the strangest thing, I went to the store earlier and this man came up to me out of the blue and just brought all this anger up towards me. I don't know him from Adam. And he just came out of nowhere and matched that anger energy that was still sitting here. It's a vibration. And this particular vibration sitting in her space, it's not who she is at all. She's also a teacher. But it's some anger there. And I'm reading the energy and I said, I see it started with this taller man, like this big guy with the big Popeye arms and real sweet nature. And she said, "Oh, that's my husband." Okay. She, you get in arguments with your spouse, but the thing was, it wasn't forgiven. So it was still that resentment, and it literally was sitting a foot off of her face and sitting there. So everywhere you go, it's still a foot off of your face. I'm in the other room, it's a foot off of her face. I'm in a group of people, it's a foot off of my face. I took a workshop on it, it's still a foot off of my face. I told it to go away, it's still a foot off my face. It's forgiveness, it's letting go. So we recognize
working on that one. I know a lot of
the energy sitting there, and because if we'd really let go, I wouldn't see it. It wouldn't be there.
Yep.
So, we have disagreements with people we love all the time. We think, no, it's fine, no problem. But then they stack up. And that's what it looks like from a clairvoyant standpoint.
Stacking. No more stacking, please. No more soup for you. Oh, what a great, I was just checking the clock to make sure that we're okay on time. We've got maybe 4 more minutes or something like that. How would you like to end the interview today? What kind of tips and tools, or what intuitively is coming up for you?
If I can help anybody out there, you can find me on my website, and I've got a free class for anybody that's sensitive or a sensitive family member on there, Powerful Resets. But the thing I've learned so much along the way is we do all these techniques, we take all these workshops and we write and we do all this. And like when the bottom falls out, like it did a couple times in my life, what I keep coming back to is the answers are within. We tune in and, we're aligned. But
it's the practice. It's a teacher like yourself to help you get realigned, right?
It's a way. It definitely helps.
Yes, it does.
What you want to learn to get good at anything, you can go faster with the coach. You could certainly do it on your own, but could take a lot.
But there's something to be said about the blind spots too, and having an advocate in your corner that's saying, "Hey, I love you. I love the energy. Let's clear this out. Let's co-collaborate and help in your healing." I think that is really profound.
And for me, it's food, I'm part of a larger group of clairvoyants and healers and stuff. And there's a couple hundred of us, and it's like getting together. It's like, that's fuel. That's food. Being really like-minded people, and just when in the group energy too, you can bump up so much quicker. You can move your energy so much quicker, and you see somebody else ask a question, you go, "Oh, I have that question too, but I didn't know that was a thing." I didn't know how to ask it, so it's very helpful in a group situation. Yeah, coach can get you there a lot faster.
Yeah, for sure. And finding that tribe, that authentic tribe for you. I'm going to remind everybody how to get a hold of you, and I'm going to spell out the name, audience. Benny will have this all typed out for you on YouTube and make sure all the information's good. So if you're driving, don't worry about it. It is Julia Harrell, and it's JuliaHarrell.com. Make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you. She's clairvoyant and spiritual coach. I love that. I love that you are stepping in the rink. I find myself very grateful that I've been doing this and being able to have a platform like this to bring on thought leaders like yourself, and to educate and to just shine a light on something that is either a squeaky wheel or is something that's been happening to you, ringing in the ears, or you've been noticing things. And when you were talking a minute ago, this whole side of me started ringing, and just not standing in fear. The words that I use, and you may appreciate this, is the CCs in life, getting really curious and having compassion, because that takes the sting out of some of the stuff that could be going on. And I remind myself that, okay, have the CCs, get really curious. What am I learning in this situation? And then having compassion and forgiveness, like you said. Forgiveness is huge. Big. I'm working on that myself. There's many of us that are, right?
And if that word is too big, it's letting go, but you can just be willing to let go. Just take it back a notch.
willing to let go. Don't get caught up in the drama.
Yeah.
And go into the whole.
Or like forgiveness is sainthood. You know, I need to be this
No.
exalted space. Just be willing to forgive, and eventually you
Yeah.
take a little handful off of that each day, and take
Yes.
the sting off, and eventually it'll just like Jenga fall apart.
All of a sudden it'll be like, oh, it doesn't anymore. Oh, it doesn't affect me anymore. Oh, okay. And what a great feeling. With that, thank you so much for hanging out with us for this hour. This has been absolutely delightful. And again, like I said earlier, thank you for stepping in the rink, and thank you for being the teacher and the light that you are. And you're welcome back anytime. I love this conversation. It's just, I could keep talking, but we only have an hour. So we are going to say our goodbyes. I want to remind everybody of Julia Harrell. You can go to juliaharrell.com. All that information will be spelled out for you if you would like to get a reading. She's got a free class on there. She's also in a coaching program as well. So I highly recommend that you would get into contact with her. With all of that, thank you so much for joining in. And until next week, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.
All right.
Sue.
All